And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Tuesday, October 15th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company. Our guest host today, Sarah Haston.
Good morning. Welcome to the Coleman Walker Show with Sarah Haston. I'm so excited to be here, and we have two special guests. We've got Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital here this morning with Tracy Pope, the Director of Community Relations. Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you?
Great. We're starting off fall with this cool weather finally. October is here. It feels great outside. It's just a wonderful weather, and just looking forward to this fall.
Isn't that something? When I got in the car this morning, it was 43 degrees.
I know. Crazy. It's finally here.
Yes. And you have someone with you here today as well. Let's introduce Dr. Habiba Park, the Associate Trauma Medical Director and Co-Director of Critical Care at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. How are you?
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good. Good morning. I'm happy to meet you today.
Happy to meet you as well.
We've had some great conversation this morning. We were all early risers and got here early.
Yes. Tuesdays are always fun here on the Coleman Walker Show. You know, Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital has been a proud supporter for many years. And so the program on Tuesdays always brought to you by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. And twice a month, we have a medical professional that usually joins us, and we have a little segment with Coleman. So it sounds like he's out on special assignment this morning, and we're excited to be here with you, Sarah.
Great. I'm excited to be here as well. I love getting to fill in for him once a year. It's a special treat, and I'm honored that they ask me. And I love that I get to be here with Vanderbilt. In my role day to day, we consider Vanderbilt Wilson County a big asset to our community and one of our selling points for Lebanon.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you leaning on us and utilizing us as you bring new businesses here, new companies, new corporations. You know, Vanderbilt purchased our hospital, our local hospital, in 2019, so 5 years ago, and we've invested over $40 million in our facility, our infrastructure, our services. And Dr. Park and the Trauma Center is a major service line that we have added and been a huge addition to the hospital since we became part of the Vanderbilt system.
That's awesome. You know, and I love all that information and the investment that Vanderbilt has put into the hospital, and just being a community of our size that has such a great hospital. It's so important, you know, to have access to great health care for all of our residents. And when new businesses are looking at our community, that's so important to them too. And so I appreciate our relationship and all the information that you provide.
Thank you. You know, Vanderbilt is a large academic medical facility, and 5 years ago expanded out into the regional community so we can bring that excellent care closer to home. And our Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital was the first hospital that Vanderbilt purchased. And lots of people don't know that either. You know, Vanderbilt has a wide platform, lots of joint ventures with other facilities, but they had never purchased a hospital. And we are so honored here in Wilson County for Vanderbilt to have invested in us and continue to invest.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And I love your role, and you do such a wonderful job of getting out there in the community and telling everyone all the wonderful things about Vanderbilt. So we appreciate all that you do for the community as well, Tracy.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Now, Dr. Habiba Park is with us today. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
So I'm going to out myself a little bit. This is actually my first time outside of the state of Maryland, which is where I'm from. I did all of my surgical training in my first few years as an attending surgeon at one of the biggest, actually the biggest and busiest trauma center in probably the world, which is the University of Maryland, and which was a great experience. So it was a little bit of a change coming down here to Tennessee. But just like Tracy's saying, one of the goals of the hospital was to really bring that top-notch, excellent care to our community. And we've done very well with that, I think.
Well, and that's very impressive to come from such a busy facility, especially when you're speaking about trauma. So how important is that to have a trauma center and trauma care at a community hospital?
So where I worked before was an urban center with more than one big level 1 trauma center in one city, which is kind of typical. And so in coming down here, I was amazed at just in general, just how spread out the hospitals are from each other, just the huge demand on medical care because there's poor access in general. And people are coming from even hours away for medical care, which just emphasizes the point that, that there's really a need for good care. And so one of the big things that surprised me in moving down here is we're not just serving the local community. Well, obviously we are Lebanon's hospital and the county's hospital, and the only level 3 trauma center here. But in addition, we are now sort of the secondary center to the main campus in Nashville. So if the patients don't require super subspecialized care like cardiac surgery or neurosurgery, they will often end up at our hospital because we can provide most of those services that are needed. And so we're having patients come from as far away from very frequently Kentucky. We have patients who come from Mississippi, from Georgia, and just to be cared for because there's, again, there's a huge lack of resources. And so they'll often end up at our hospital. And I think that I've overwhelmingly heard the feedback that they were very surprised at what we were able to do.
Oh, sure.
And, and just to break it down a little bit, Vanderbilt University Medical Center is this huge academic medical center that lots of patients come from all around Middle Tennessee, the southeast to Vanderbilt. And because we are a sister hospital, we are not a standalone hospital anymore. These patients come into the transfer center. So it comes into the VMC transfer center. And just like Dr. Park was explaining, they look at the patient's care, the acuity of the patient, and maybe where they live, and lots of times they will be transferred directly to Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital instead of going downtown to the large academic medical facility. And that is something that we have never had before. Before we became Vanderbilt, patients came to our hospital and we were the hospital that had to ship them somewhere else. And that is not our hospital anymore.
That's incredible. I had no idea, for one. And, I think that's so interesting because we talk so often about when you're in Lebanon, you're going somewhere else. We even study the data of our residents and people and where they're going throughout our community and moving and getting different things they need, aside from healthcare. And so hearing that people are coming to Lebanon for specialized healthcare, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. That's a huge part of the story, and I really appreciate you sharing that. That blows my mind, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and it's very, very fulfilling as a medical professional to be able to really feel like I'm a part of the community and to really feel like I'm serving the people around me, my friends, my colleagues, but also the greater region.
Yeah, I think it's important that it really helps define the word community. So living out here in Wilson County, I think that's great. I'm proud to say you're a neighbor now. I think that's so wonderful, and being a part of the community. And I understand here from our conversations with Tracy that you specialize in general surgery and surgical critical care. So what do most days look like for you out here?
So there is, for example, like I'm just coming off of a night shift, but there's always a surgeon physically in the hospital. There is, we're there immediately available for any emergencies. We perform everything that comes emergently through the emergency room in terms of general surgery. So bowel blockages or incarcerated hernias or infections, to name a few things, inflamed or infected gallbladders. So those are a few of the sorts of cases that we see. But we also cover all trauma that comes to the hospital. And then in addition, you mentioned that I'm co-director of surgical critical care. The benefit, one of the additional benefits to our group is that most of our trauma surgeons are also additionally trained in surgical critical care. So we don't just take care of the patients from the time they get into the emergency room with their emergent first needs, but we're able to provide the spectrum of care from the beginning to the time that they leave the hospital, and that may include if they require the ICU. We manage them primarily during that part of their hospitalization as well.
That's great. That's great. I really appreciate you sharing so much about what you do on a day-to-day. We're going to, it's 7:15 almost, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break.
Thanks, Sarah. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. And it's all brought to you by Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. $59.95 up to 5 quarts oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation, and safety check. 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Trying to clear up a couple of accidents. One is 65 southbound near Harding Place. They finally moved the damaged vehicles over to the side. The one that's causing the biggest delays is coming in from Rutherford County, 24 westbound at Walden Road. It's over to the side. It's just at the wrong place at the wrong time because of all that traffic trying to get out of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, trying to get down past Walden Road, headed up into Antioch. You're going to have to give yourself a little bit of extra time out here as they wrap up that wreck. 40 westbound at Spence Lane. Prince's Hot Chicken has new items. Check them out today at princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The refreshing cool after coming in from a hot summer day. The perfect temperature to kick off your shoes and relax with a good book. When the weather heats up, a new Rheem AC system will surround your family in total comfort. Are you feeling it? Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
And welcome back to Sarah Haston, filling in for Coleman Walker. I am the Economic Development Director for the City of Lebanon, and I'm happy to be filling in today. And I have with me here Tracy Pope from Vanderbilt Wilson County and Dr. Park from Vanderbilt Wilson County, who was just talking to us about surgical critical care and that portion of her role. And I'd like to get more into that. That sounds so interesting.
Yeah. So Dr. Park was talking about how she's the co-director of our critical care unit at the hospital, which is our intensive care unit. And since we have been Vanderbilt, one of the other major investments that we have made is the 24/7 coverage in our ICU. We have critical care anesthesia physicians that work in our ICU that work also in the critical care units downtown at VUMC. So these physicians are working in both hospitals. When I take new physicians on tours of the hospital, I get to hear all about how they love being here at Wilson County. The patients and family members are so grateful and thankful for the care that they're receiving here in Wilson County. And I just think it's just another incredible aspect that Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital is able to provide is that high level of care, the same level of care that patients and family members will receive if they are downtown at the academic medical facility.
Yeah, it's a definitely an important aspect because, on a local level, when something happens with you or your family, I think there's just kind of this idea that I should go downtown. I should go to a bigger hospital, or I need to leave Lebanon. And I think you've done a really good, excellent job of communicating the recent growth that the hospital's done, the investment with Vanderbilt, the changes that you guys have made, and the specialty aspect of it. I think that's important, and I think people need to understand that Vanderbilt Wilson County's here is a huge resource, and that if something unfortunately happens with you or your family, you can start here and get the care that is needed for you at that time.
Absolutely. And that is just the Vanderbilt mission. We stay at 110 capacity downtown all the time. So honestly, Vanderbilt is not trying to bring more patients to the downtown campus. We are trying to take care of the sickest of the sick at the downtown campus and bring that high level of specialty care out to the communities where we can serve people in their home community and keep that level of care just as high as you would if you had to go downtown.
Wonderful. That's so important. I know personally we've had good experiences with me and my family. When you have two teenagers, things happen, and then my husband's in construction, so he's had to use the services from time to time as well. So I think I know we've had a wonderful experience. So I'm grateful to have you in our community.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Park, let's talk a little bit about Level 3 Trauma Center designation. What does that mean to Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital in our community?
It means that you get access, the members of the community get access 24/7, 365 days a year to a trauma surgeon, to all the services that come along with that, which includes some specialty care, interventional radiology, GI services, advanced cardiology. Patients will be treated immediately for potentially life-threatening illnesses in the emergency room and will be taken care of throughout their whole hospitalization locally with us. We are finding with all the additional services that we've been bringing to the hospital, less and less often that we are even needing to transfer patients to main campus in Nashville for more advanced things. A couple of services that we are lacking that are not part of being the Level 3 Trauma Center would be neurosurgery is a big one. Spine is the other one. But I will tell you that, if there are minor injuries, even neurosurgical emergencies such as small head bleeds, or even minor spine injuries that don't look like they would require surgery, we've been keeping here locally with us. So patients' families are so excited that they don't have to go all the way down to Nashville for all these things, that we're able to stay close to home. And all these additional services just boost the capabilities of the hospital and just really round out what we're able to do for the patients. The additional service that we mentioned was surgical critical care. And so like I was mentioning before, almost all of our surgeons are trained in surgical critical care. So we really complete that spectrum of 100% holistic care with the patients here locally in town.
And really what it means for the community is if you do have that 911 emergency service, that our, local emergency service agencies don't have to bypass our hospital and drive 30 minutes down the road because we're not able to take care of the patients. But that is something that we can do now that we used to 5 years ago. We were not able to support the community in that way.
That's great. So it just reiterates the fact that you guys are here to help and you have everything that you need. We need as a community, you guys have availability to help us.
And that's really Vanderbilt's strategy, is looking at the community, seeing the needs that we might have, and how can we be that resource. And that's our goal.
Sure. Now, outside of trauma, let's talk about different scenarios where you would treat a patient. What your day-to-day on outside of trauma?
It's all mixed together. There's no separating the two, really. But I mentioned a couple of the more emergent general surgery cases that we see in the emergency room. I mentioned things like bowel blockages. Sometimes we do see some emergent cancer operations, but more in terms of if patients present with blockage symptoms which turn out to be a cancer. We do have oncology service, surgical oncology and medical oncology services locally, which is also a huge boon to the community because we work very closely hand in hand with them. But we also maintain an elective general surgery practice as well. So we have an office down on 1616 West Main Street where we see patients who get referred from the community for various general surgery issues. If they think that they've got gallbladder pain or if they think that they have a hernia, those are some of the biggest, most common things that we see patients for there. Sometimes I see patients with soft tissue masses that they think might be lipomas. We remove those. So we're able to also offer outpatient sometimes same-day surgeries. There's a lot of patients with diverticulitis who come in, who have colostomies who need to be reversed. We do all of those sorts of surgeries as well.
A lot.
Wonderful. Yes. And, Dr. Park and her team, they see the emergent cases in the emergency room, through the emergency room, do surgeries that way. But like she said, she and her partners have an elective outpatient practice. So you can be referred from on your own if you feel like you have a hernia or something like that. Or lots of times other physicians will refer patients to Dr. Park and her partners, like she said, for gallbladder problems, lumps and bumps, colon surgeries. So we're just grateful that she's here to service from a general surgery aspect as well.
Yes. Now, how long have you been at Vanderbilt Wilson County?
Going on 3 years now, I think, almost.
And you love it here in Wilson County?
Oh my gosh, I love it. This is definitely home for me now. Yeah, I've really integrated myself into becoming a member of the community here. We were just talking about this. Yeah, I actually live in the Tucker's Crossroads area. My family and I have a farm there. We have cattle. We just love the community.
So coming from Maryland, did you ever imagine you would have cattle?
No, I did not. Actually, I was a city girl.
Well, I'll tell you, it blows my mind because I don't think I could even go visit the cattle that you have. So, is that your hobby now, farming?
I learn something new every day. It's very hard work. It's also very rewarding. It's nice to be out in the fresh air. And, one thing I really learned to appreciate very quickly coming down here is just the strength and the stoicism of our rural community members. I just love taking care of our farmers, and they never fail to impress me with how much pain they're able to tolerate without, before they actually come into the hospital. So there's this saying amongst emergency medicine and first responder groups where if a farmer is asking for help, then, something's really bad. Something bad is actually happening. So you got to really pay attention. But I love my neighbors, all of whom are farmers, and it's really given me a very different perspective on trauma care just in general. Again, comparing where I was before in an inner city with a lot of interpersonal violence, Baltimore, like everybody knows what that's like, what comes with that. But to come from that sort of environment where you have almost immediate access to top-notch surgical trauma care, to come here where it's a lot more dispersed and a lot more sparse, and to see what people are able to tolerate, it's really a testament to what a human can go through and survive. So I think that was a great learning experience for me, and I'm very, very proud and honored to be taking care of our community here.
That is so wonderful to hear, and I'm glad that you've experienced that over the last 3 years, because I think that someone that is from the South, grew up in the South, we understand the culture here. So when you were in Maryland and looking to relocate, tell us a little bit more about what drew you to Vanderbilt specifically, and then how you came to be in Wilson County.
It was twofold. So, Vanderbilt obviously is a very well-known trauma center. Actually, at Maryland, we have several of the trauma surgeons who had come to work as my partners there. My previous division chief, Dr. Jose Diaz, was a huge influence on my career. He was a huge educator, and he was actually a longtime surgeon with Vanderbilt. In addition, Vanderbilt is a training center for the Army. And so University of Maryland is similarly a training center for the Air Force. And so there's a lot of collaboration back and forth between the two. So I happen to know some of my colleagues who were working down here, but at the same time moved for family reasons. My husband being military and was looking at retiring, and he's from here. So it was twofold, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and such an interesting perspective. And I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because one of the things that Tracy and I probably say very often in our world is the people here. The people here in Lebanon and Wilson County are really what makes this community so fantastic. In my world, it's what helps sell this community, from our business partners to entrepreneurs to your everyday people. I mean, it's just a fantastic community. So I'm grateful that, one, that you shared it, and two, that you've been able to experience it in such a short time. And I love the perspective of the farmers and needing help like that. I think that's a wonderful story to share.
Absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to mention really quickly was, and I think Tracy may have wanted to mention this, but we also do, as part of the Trauma Center, we do a lot of trauma education and outreach in the community. So we work pretty closely with our emergency management colleagues, WEMA, and our local first responder groups in the area to do trauma education and outreach.
That's great. I know that a lot of our community partners are always looking for guest speakers and wanting different information on healthcare. So that's great to let everyone know. And I'm sure you can, if you're needing a speaker, you can contact Tracy Pope and she can connect you to Dr. Park. So we sure appreciate you being here today and sharing your location with us, 1616 West Main Street, Suite 201B. And are you accepting new patients?
Always.
Great.
Yeah.
Come and see us. Not for trauma. Hopefully never for trauma, but I never wish that on anyone, but we're here for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dr. Park is in the practice Vanderbilt Surgery Lebanon, and that's in our Vanderbilt Health Lebanon building, which is the blue glass building on West Main Street, 1616. And like you said, she's accepting new patients. So if you heard anything today or have any questions, reach out to MJ here at the studio and they can get a hold of us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tracy. It was wonderful to see you as always. And it was very nice to meet you, Dr. Park. I appreciate you being here today. And now we are going to turn it over to MJ.
Thank you so much. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Absolute Kubota High Performance, High Horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated number 1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. They're moving a wreck right now over to the side on 40 westbound at Central Pike. It's just heavy through this section of Hermitage because you got all that traffic pushing in right now from Wilson County here through Hermitage on 40 westbound. Again, they're moving it to the side. Still some rubbernecking in Rutherford County as they mop up that accident. 24 westbound at Walden Road that caused traffic to run a little bit slow, leaving Murfreesboro headed towards Nashville. It is crowded now on Vietnam Vets westbound at Conference Drive. Hey, Nash Painting, a non-franchise painting company, mentioned this ad, get a 10% discount. Call Nash Painting 912-2288. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Drug Free Wilco is partnering with local law enforcement agencies for National Drug Take Back Day on Saturday, October 26. Drop-off locations will be at Gibbs Pharmacy, Walgreens on West Main, Three Forks Marketplace, and TriStar Mount Jet ER. Unused medications are a public safety issue that may lead to accidental poisoning, overdose, or misuse. Drop them off Saturday, October 26 from 10 to 2. Receive a free lot box from Drug Free Wilco. This project is funded under a grant contract with State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Where a patient starts their cancer care matters. And here, that means Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, Wilson County. It's Vanderbilt level care without making the drive to Nashville. From screening to diagnosis to treatment and recovery, patients can get all the care they need right here close to home. So now, having the best care team and most advanced treatment is closer than ever. Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, making cancer care personal.
It'll be partly sunny, cool and breezy for today. Highs around 60, mostly clear with areas of frost tonight, lows in the lower 30s. And then sunny and cool again on Wednesday, highs in the upper 50s. This weather forecast brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. With your severe view forecast, I'm Storm Specialist Drew Richards.
Welcome back to Coleman Walker Show. This is Sarah Haston filling in this morning, and I'm so happy to be here. We're moving on to our second segment, and we have Hearthside Senior Living to talk about today, retirement and assisted living community that's located at 215 Castle Heights Avenue. And we have a very special guest to talk with us about Hearthside Senior Living. I'd like to welcome Miss Susie James. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me. I love doing this. This is my favorite time of fall.
Well, you do a great job. You've got great guests today, and so look forward to hearing the next one. But I'll just speak briefly. I am on the board of Hearthside, and I learn something new every time I'm there. But they have just been such an asset to so many people over the years. Now they're getting extended family members. He talked last week about somebody that had 3 different family members that have lived there, and I've had multiple ones and lots of friends in the independent living. But in November, I believe it's actually the 20th, maybe the 15th or the 20th actual date of the 30th anniversary. So we were able to locate pictures of the construction, and Sean has done an amazing job pulling all of the history together from the dream that started in the 80s to the pains that it took to actually open the campus and in 94. So he has a beautiful brochure that he's put together that I got to preview last week and kind of help proof too. But it gives a lot of history and respect to those that made it happen.
That's awesome. You know, Mr. Sean Dozier is usually here on Tuesdays to help with the commercial, and he's out right now, but we miss him and appreciate you filling in for him. But he does do an amazing job. He's a great executive director, and he's a great community asset and liaison. You know, he's out in the community. He's helpful. He helps with Wilson Rides, and he works with the chamber in the healthcare roundtable. You know, he does a great job, and we appreciate him. And Susie, that's very exciting. 30 years. That is definitely something to celebrate. And I'm excited to hear more about that.
Yes, I am too. And he'll tell more. He's got a couple of extra segments booked about the details of the celebration around the 30 years. But anyway, if you want to give us a call or just drop by and have a cup of coffee and walk through and see, they're always upgrading. Everything's neat and clean, but it's very comfortable too. It's not a facility. It's a home.
Yes,
so
it is.
Come by and see us.
I've been there several times for different events and meetings, and I think it's a fantastic business model as well, with the independent living right there, and then the senior living where the assisted portion, the meals that they provide, the services, the activities, and you know, being close to your friends and your family. I think it's great, and he's done an awesome job with it. And I'm sure you have as well, being on the board and helping. And it says here they've been voted best in Wilson County, and that's fantastic. But yes, please do go by and have a personal tour, and they will help you and hear from you and see how they can help you with your needs.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. We'll look forward to Sean next week. I think he's just on vacation, but maybe we're not supposed to say that.
Yes. And you know what I think we should do?
What?
We should do a Hearthside hello.
Yes.
And we should do it to Sean Dozier.
There you go.
He's probably out sitting in the sun and enjoying the fresh, salty air and listening to the waves crashing. So we'll give a Hearthside hello from Lebanon to Florida to Mr. Sean Dozier.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Susie. All right, now we're moving on to our next guest. If you're just tuning in, this is Sarah Haston. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Lebanon, and I'm filling in for Coleman Walker. And our next guest is Mr. Brian Hutto, the LSSD Director of Schools. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Sarah. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
How's the radio gig going?
You know what? I love it. I don't know if all the residents love the sound of my voice. My big sister growing up always said it was the most annoying sound on the planet.
Well, that's what siblings are good for, right?
It is. So I'm excited to sit down and have a conversation with you today.
Sure, yeah.
I know that there's so much going on in not just Lebanon and LSSD, but in the world of education. You know, it's ever changing and growing. So I'm excited to hear what you guys are doing.
And you hit the nail on the head. It is ever changing. It is growing. We have a lot of items happening currently. We swore in a new board member back in September, and typically I use this time to update the community on the work of the board. And so last September, Judge Kane swore in Miss Heather Sadler Gallagher. We were super excited. Great ceremony. Appreciate Judge Kane for coming to do that. But then also the first matter of business for the board is to elect a board chair. Miss Heather was also elected board chair.
That is fantastic.
It is fantastic. It is.
That is exciting news. I'm so happy for her. You know, she's a coworker of mine now.
Correct.
Because she is the director of the Lebanon Senior Center. And the way we're structured, it's a little different. It's independent away from us, but also together. So it's interesting. But I've been enjoying getting to know her, so I think she'll do a fantastic job with you.
I agree, and it's just starting this process. Us learning that together is immensely valuable. And we talk every day. You know, she went out of town last week, and she joked. She said, "Well, Brian, I hope I don't have to talk to you this week." And I thought, well, you know, it kind of hurts my feelings. But anyway, no, it is good, and working through that process. But the board has initiated a host of items over the past 2 meetings. We met right before fall break. We had a work session, and so one of the big items, obviously, well, they're all large, but they want to add membership to the board. So in September, the board voted to add two members. We're currently a board of 3 that are at-large seats. And so they went ahead and made the initial steps, which would add 2 more members. So there's several pieces to the process moving forward. One of those that they really want to iron out. We have had an in-house attorney, Mike Kurtz. I don't know if you know Mr. Kurtz. He's county commissioner as well. Mm-hmm. And he's our director of operations. So when he was hired with the district, he was our legal counsel of sorts in-house. If we had a big item, we would contract that out. But we're at a place and his job responsibilities overlap. So it's just time with our size in the community that they have an outside counsel that the board can utilize for all the things they may need. And so prior to the next steps on adding to the board, they want to solicit and hire an attorney. And so they're currently going through those applications and the request for proposal, I guess, is what they submitted. And so hopefully November, that'll be our next meeting. They'll have an attorney selected. And then from there, they'll look at those steps to add into the board. That's great. Now, did you guys have a lot of applications? Is that something that people were real interested in? I think they had 4. And there are a host of firms that do that. I think there was a couple out of Nashville, one out of Chattanooga, and maybe one out of Franklin. Gotcha. And it's still open, but that really it's a resource, and what they're looking for is the board to have that representation for any of the items, whether it's due process. You know, sometimes those things happen. Sure. But also, especially with zoning and with adding to the board, you know, they have to decide if we're going to add 2 members. What does that look like? You know, do we restructure how it's currently laid out? Do you go that large? Do you do a hybrid? There's a host of options for them to wade through, but they want to make sure they do it the right way, and it's representative of our community. That's great. That's good. That's definitely a sign of growth and evolving. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, it is. You know, and the board. I mean, Lebanon Specials chartered in 1901, and so there are only 14 special school districts in the state. When it first started, there was a host of those, and way back when, you know, communities. This may sound foreign, but communities didn't necessarily want to pay for things that weren't in their community. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so as the city of Lebanon grew, you got the county, well, we didn't want to pay for that school. So that's when they formed the special school district. And, Coleman affectionately refers to it as the gem of Lebanon, and I agree to that. So we want to make sure we protect it, but also grow with who we have. So, yeah. Well, I think very highly of it. I have 2 young ladies that I've raised. I've got a 17-year-old and I've got a 14-year-old, and both of them are products of the Lebanon Special School District. Right. Both went to Sam Houston Elementary School and then to Walter J. Baird Junior High. Yeah. Or middle school. Middle school. So we had a fantastic experience and very proud
very proud of both of those schools. We did very well with them. So
and
we appreciate Lebanon Special.
And that's, it's sort of our mantra is I want school to be the best part of a kid's day, whether they need it or not. And Sam Houston is a fantastic school. They all are. I wouldn't pick, I was principal at Colesfield for 10 years and our school community that we had. And that's really, our mission is committed to community of excellence. And what that means, that community piece, that's where you get into the vision. Like, what does that look like? And so what we want is we want our schools to be that community hub where we're providing rock solid, high quality instruction, but we're also supporting the families and extended families. And, teachers are asked to do a lot.
They are. It's hard. You have all walks of life that come through on a day-to-day. Day-to-day is different. And, education's changing. And when you said teachers are asked to do a lot, I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and I've seen them go through the changes, post-COVID, and it's complicated, and they're tired, and they're stressed, and, they're trying to figure it out too. So I know that having the support of the district and the administration is important. So I'm sure you're doing a fantastic job with that. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, but we will be back with our guest, Mr. Brian Hutto. So we're going to MJ right now.
Thanks, Sarah. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford, and get a battery installed in most vehicles. $149.95. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's been busy trying to get through Hermitage coming in from Wilson County on a couple of earlier accidents. Again, just give yourself extra time as it still runs a little bit heavy on 40 West at Central Pike. Again, that's all that traffic coming in from Wilson County. Wrapping up an accident, 24 westbound at Walden Road. It was out there long enough to snag that traffic and slow it down on 24 West, leaving Rutherford County headed towards Nashville. Again, up through Antioch, it's busy. Prince's Hot Chicken has new items. Check them out today. Order online. It's easy. PrincesHotChicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome to Hearthside Senior Living, Lebanon's unique senior living community designed for seniors to age in place, all within a safe, comfortable, and Christian environment. Beautiful retirement homes designed for an independent lifestyle with maintenance-free living. Hearthside Senior Living also continues the excellent tradition of assisted living for those seniors who need additional services. Hearthside Senior Living, an independent retirement community and assisted living community, all on one campus in the heart of Lebanon. Call 615-443-1994 for a tour.
This is Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell. During my first term as mayor, we have worked together with a sense of urgency to get Lebanon moving into the right direction. This includes 30 new regulations on developers that require updated building standards, which will ensure residential and commercial developments we can all be proud of. Specific plans that require developers to build what they promised. Raised impact fees on developers to pay for infrastructure for future growth. Closed zoning loopholes that allow too many multifamily developments. This is Mayor Rick Bell. I am asking for your vote.
Paid for by Rick Bell for Mayor, Greg Landers, Treasurer.
Welcome back. Sarah Haston here, Economic Development Director for the City of Lebanon, and I am so happy to be filling in for Mr. Coleman Walker today. I absolutely love it, and I'm having the best chat with Mr. Brian Hutto here. The what is your exact title?
Director of Schools, Superintendent is what it used to be. Those go depending on which part of the state.
Sure.
East Tennessee, West Tennessee, either one of them used. Superintendent was actually phased out when they moved away from elected superintendents.
Gotcha. Okay,
so
sure.
they shifted to that Director of Schools, but you'll hear them used interchangeably.
And that's fairly new to you too, as well, right?
This is year 3 in this capacity.
Well, congratulations!
It's been great. We have a phenomenal team, and it takes a team. You know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
You referencing the people that you work with. Mayor Bell is crafted and created, and I do want to, one of the topics that comes up all the time is growth, and I think Mayor Bell has been very transparent, very open about what that looks like, and some of root causes is not necessarily the best term, but there were things that were in play that allowed a lot of and made for the growth. But we also have to recognize we're very desirable. We have a place, Wilson County is a place to be.
It is.
So with that comes challenges that we welcome. And so back to some of the board business, growth is obviously a discussion that's come up in the last several board meetings. And a question I get asked daily, when are you going to build a school?
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to build a school? And so That's a process as well, just like adding to the board. For us to build a school, so being a special school district, we incur our own debt. So just like if you went to go buy a house, you'd have to pay the mortgage. If Lebanon Special wants to build a school, we have to be able to pay that payment. A county government has, or Wilson County Schools has a county government that are able to, I guess, absorb that debt. So we want to make sure we're making good use of taxpayer dollars. And with that, we're looking at all the options. Do we look at expansions? Do we look at zoning? A new build is obviously, what would be the easiest, but it may not be the most practical or most economic. So that's what the process is right now that the board's looking through. And I believe in November we're going to give them just sort of a rundown of available options and what those costs might incur. So
now how does that work? Is that something internally that you guys examine? I know on the city side, when we have different, capital projects, if you will, we hire a consultant or a firm to come in and do some analysis. Mm-hmm. What tools, how does that look for you guys, those decisions?
Previously, let's just say pre-COVID, we'll just say that word, pre-COVID, our growth had you could mark it by the year you're going to add 30 to 50 kids. It was consistent. During and after, that mark has shifted to a point where it was really, we didn't have the necessary tools to forecast it. So we did, like you said, we contracted with a company out of Kansas, RSP. They came in and they worked with your city planners who were instrumental in getting us the data we needed. But they went through and they studied the boundaries of the city of Lebanon and our Lebanon Special School District, because, we go inside and outside the city lines in places.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They also did an enrollment study of all of our campuses. And so with those two pieces of information, they gave us projections for each campus on what it's going to look like over the next 5 years. And so, we're tracking this fall. Did we hit what they said we would? And we did, and we exceeded in all but 2 campuses. So, we're going to continue to follow that because, a build now, when we built Jones Brumman, it was $28 million.
Sure.
It's 46 now.
I believe it, yeah.
When we look at incurring, and you don't, population, enrollment, growth, economics, I don't want to say they're fickle, but sometimes they can, and you don't want to bite off more than you can really handle. So
right, and I think those numbers are just overwhelming. The predictions alone, we look at that every day, and it blows my mind every time we hear it. In my world, we'll focal down on an area and pinpoint it, and then expand out. And so we'll say, okay, this area is growing completely different than another area,
right?
And those numbers are always blowing my mind. So with each school, so you probably have a formula for those to be at capacity, and that's why there's so many different options of zoning, new build, different.
Correct. And some of ours, one of the challenges, being a special school district is awesome, but one of the challenges is they'll say, well, if you're at capacity at this building, just rezone them. We're just trading kids.
Yeah.
It's not addressing what the overarching problem is just enrollment. Because if we move these kids from Sam Houston to Byers Dowdy, then they're just going to backfill or what's coming to Byers Dowdy or what's coming to Jones Brumman. So we've got some areas that we can get creative with. Probably one of the biggest challenges right now is the busing, and we've talked about that. Coleman and I have talked about it. It's been a topic at all of our board meetings. We added 550 riders last year. So you think that's nearly the enrollment of a school.
Yeah.
And we're busing about half of our enrollment. So 2,400 kids we're busing. So kudos to our transportation director and Ms. Kegley. We've gotten really creative with routing and making sure that we have at least that option. Now, what we've morphed into, this would be Plan B, and it's not permanent, but we're going to run a late route. So if you're a family that is really struggling to get your child back and forth to school, if you're in that capacity, we're going to pick you up. Now, your child's going to be late to school a little bit, and they're going to be late getting home, but we want to make sure that isn't an added burden. Because, we have a lot of single-family homes. We've got people working from home every
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic idea. You know, that's one of the things I think COVID kind of taught us. One, to be agile, right? And to make it work. And schools today are so much more than just your education. You have to provide so many benefits to families that were unexpected years ago.
Correct.
It's just evolved. And families today are so different. You know, the 9 to 5 workday is gone, right? The iPhone has made it where we're all accessible 24/7. Some of us have to be at work at 7:30. Some of us have to be at work at 10. You know, so being flexible is great and a wonderful idea. And in the private sector, corporate world, it's easy to say. But when you're working with transportation and so many children getting to so many different places, it's a bit more complicated than saying, let's be flexible. So kudos to you guys and your team for figuring out a way to evolve a little bit and see where you can help certain groups that are struggling.
Right. Well, and that's you know, we're all in this together. And we value our community, our families, and it's critical that they know that piece. But it is complicated. You know, if there were an easy fix, we'd all do it.
Right, exactly.
And so it just takes a little time, and that's the other piece. You know, with that agility and flexibility, pace has really ramped up. Everybody's in a hurry, and you know, we want it fixed, and we want it fixed now, and we work for those things, but we also want to do it right. So right before speed is always our goal. But supporting families, that's a great segue. We have a partnership with Wilson County Schools, so this will be new information. You're going to hear a lot about it. You have probably heard in the news about the influx of threats through social media, on campuses, and another highlight to Lebanon Special, we've added guidance counselors in all of our schools. Every one of them had one. Middle schools, we added an additional guidance counselor. We've got 2 that float with our middle schools. Behavior support, and just having those that adult to build a relationship. We have a behavior support team that's working with our youngest students currently. They are day in, day out working with students that just, and we'll say this is a product partially of COVID, but there were some social skills during that time because we were all locked down. You know, you had your adult was stressed, and your parent was trying to work and manage, and so we've got these little kindergartners, pre-Kers coming in, and they just have some skills that need to, and it happens. It's amazing. With the right interventions, they can be phenomenal students. But so in addition to that, back to the partner in Wilson County, the threats are just a product of this social world that students, they don't understand necessarily the gravity. And Jeff Luttrell and I, Director Luttrell, we were talking, and he talked about a case where you had some middle school girls. They were conversing with someone through a game. They ended up being an adult in Texas. They were sharing information back and forth. He prompted them to say that there was something going to happen at their school, and they just didn't. That's how it spread. And so you go from a predator of sorts prompting these young people to say things, and then it puts the school in lockdown. It causes all sorts of resources to be diverted. So that's one of many that both systems have been dealing with. So Annie Barga, Beth Petty, our Family Resource Center, Wilson County Annie Barga is their Family Resource Center. They said, enough is enough. And that's what we're terming the program. Enough is enough. We are going to bring in our Guardian presentation. And Homeland Security puts that on their cyber crimes. And it is for adults. It is an 18 and up. We're going to do child care. It's going to happen at the Wilson County Schools at their central office in their auditorium. It'll seat 1,000. We'd love to fill it. It is a program that is going to show you as an adult what your child has access to in the virtual world. I had a daughter. I left that. I watched it 2 years ago. As soon as I left, I went and I said, let's talk about what's on your phone. And she's going to be 14 now, but she was 10 or 11 at the time. These games, Roblox and some of the other things that they play, there are aspects to it that can open a dangerous place. And so when we talk about supporting our families, we also want to give them the tools to know what's happening. And that's the point of this.
And I think that is fantastic. If I encourage everyone to go through that. I had the pleasure of hearing that presentation when I went through Leadership Wilson.
Right.
And I was terrified when I left. And I think as professional adults in our world, in our circles, one of the things that we forget, which you probably see every day, but in our world we don't, is that all of these families are different, and all of these family circumstances are different. And our children don't see that. They're playing on the playground. They're communicating with all walks of life. And it's important to have those conversations. And that presentation that shows you the different components to these games that are on our kids' phones is so important to learn and have those conversations. So you bringing that program to our community is a huge resource. And do you have the date and time for that?
I do. Good. December the 5th, 6 to 8 p.m., again, at the Wilson County Schools in their auditorium in their central office. You'll have a host of advertisements and promotional things going out. But I knew I had this time with you this morning, and we just got the location settled yesterday, so I wanted to get that on everyone's radar. And to your point, kids are kids. They don't have a fully developed frontal lobe. They're going to make bad choices, and we want to make sure we're there to support them.
Absolutely. So save that date. That's important, December 5th. So write that down, 6 to 8. And child care is available.
It will be available.
At Wilson County Central Office in the auditorium.
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, we got about one more minute. You want to wrap us up?
Yeah, one more minute. We are still on fall break. Wilson County Schools will come back midweek, and then we're going to jump into kids who come back Monday. And we're excited to kick off this, second 9 week of sorts. And this is the run up to Christmas, and it's 100 miles an hour and lots of good things. So we're excited about that. But thank you for this time this morning. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, it was very nice to visit with you. I appreciate our conversation, and thank you for sharing so much vital information about our community. And you do a fantastic job. We appreciate all that you do. And like I said, I love Lebanon Special School District. Both my children went through it, and I appreciate it. And I'm happy to be here again. This is Sarah Haston, Economic Development Director for the City of Lebanon. Have a great Tuesday.